Maceo and Fred Wesley and all of these
Hmm.
folks were James Brown's proteges. And if you listen to a lot of the classic songs, One Nation Under a Groove, you can hear all of these, you know, uh, all of the stuff that they picked up as they went along. It's almost like, it was James Brown was a school, not only a band, but it was a school
Oh,
too.
we used to call it JBU.
Right.
All the musicians call it JBU.
Wow.
Wow, and that's real. That's real. That
Yeah.
is real. I still find myself. I broke out in song just a little bit early. I won't do that again.
Oh, thank God.
I got excited.
Thank you.
I want to hear it.
Watch out!
Personally.
Yeah, dabba doozy, baby. No, watch
There
out
you
now.
go.
That's right.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
But,
yeah,
wrong-
here we go.
wrong
So
band.
wait a minute. Mousy. So when they said give the drummer some, they were giving it to you. They said give the drummer
on certain
some.
occasions, but I got to. I got to give props to God bless Clyde Stubblefield and Jabbo Stocks. I mean, they were the kings. They were the masters.
Right.
They were the ones who were sampled more than any drummers in the world. Let's put it that way.
Wow.
So, and I mean, I was fortunate enough to work with both of those guys, at the Hollywood Bowl. Like I said, with Christian McBride and D'Angelo, and it was for the movie Get On Up. So that was my last time working with them, and I mean, it was an honor, to work with those guys side by side. It was like, man.
Right. It was. I mean,
and then to take over the reins from them, So
mm-hmm.
it's like, man,
Well, they don't.
such
They,
a blessing,
they don't pass it on to somebody who they don't think can handle the mantle. So they
Well,
they wouldn't give it to you if they didn't think you could do it.
Like, and then I tell everybody, it's not me doing the work. It's all God's work. I just go where He tell me to go.
That's right. That's
So
what
I give Him all the praises.
obedience to do that. Don't you make me start praise dancing in here. Whoa,
That's right.
Watch
That's
out
right.
now.
Singing and praise dancing. We're in trouble.
See,
Oh,
watch
yeah.
out now.
Oh,
Watch
yeah.
out. The doors of the church are open.
Multi-talented, just multi-talented.
The next
Lord.
hymn will be keeping it on the one. But
See, but that it's all church when you go see Brown anyway. So I mean, it's all real. It's like look, she just said it all. You can feel it. It's real.
right. That's right. That's right. It got to
That's
be
what
real.
it is. Mhm.
But you talk about that, and you talk about church and the influence, the gospel influence, and everything else. But also, the time that you all in the civil rights time and all of that kind of things that were happening. The consciousness of the music too, of songs like Say It Loud and Black and I'm Proud and all the things that
True.
Mr. Brown did, had gone through, quieting the riots in the '60s and all that kind of stuff, where they would call on him, and it wasn't just
That's right.
about dancing and shaking your butt and everything. It was a release too, but it was also about being conscious,
Keeping
which
calm, keeping order,
That's right.
because it was crazy. It was really and for them to call him to do that, he was the man. I mean, from that point on,
there won't be another. There's not going to be another James Brown. But the people that you work with, you talked about some of the folks that you work with in the new up and coming, and some of them that have I say up and coming, but some of them have kind of made a name for themselves already. But is there anybody that you worked with who you see kind of has that work ethic, the same kind of work ethic, and headed with the same kind of trajectory as Mr. Brown?
well, I mean, not only just in the forefront, but in the back of the back of the scenes, where you don't really hear about much going on. And I got to give it to that young man, Christian McBride, and I give him a lot of, because he's keeping James. I mean, it was him. I introduced him to James Brown, and through him, he's given me the opportunity to work with, like I say, the cats, D'Angelo. We just did a thing at the Apollo for the 50th anniversary of Black and I'm Proud. That was the cover the grounds about Soul Power 68. The struggle of overcoming all of that at that time, and that's coming back with some power. Soul Power, Black and I'm Proud. Gave us some proudness. So
Right.
I had the privilege of working with Lee Fields, Christian McBride. They had Pee Wee Ellis, Fred Wesley. They had Nona Hendrix,
She used to be with LaBelle.
Sunshine, Avery Sunshine. Yep. So I mean, we had a cast of a lot of people coming out to do things. So
Avery Sunshine is no joke.
I mean, oh no, by no means.
That's right.
And so, you know, working with him, I'm working with a cast of what's happening now. So
that's right.
So the cycle never ends. So I thank God for what He's placing me, you know, in, you know, and that's why I go back to music. You know, you got to accept it, because if you once you cut it off, saying, "Oh man, that's their thing," you know, it's gonna be their thing. But you're gonna miss the next thing that comes after that if you don't get with this thing.
That's
so
right.
try to get with some of this thing to hear what they're talking about, so you know where they're going. Because if you cut them off, you'll never be, you know, able to keep up. And I just like to keep up with our youth, you know, because some of them do get off, and they need some of this history to get them back on.
That's right. That's right. That's right. No doubt. No doubt. And a lot of them don't know. I mean, a lot of folks know James Brown's music or bits and pieces of his music, but don't really, you know, didn't know the man, and some of the stuff that they saw, you know, as they were growing up in later years was something leaning more towards, you know, joking or things like that, or as he wasn't the meteor on the rise anymore, but he was kind of becoming a falling star. Just the about time, you know, the arc of time that he had done so much for so long, and then started to decline. Did you see anything in the you know, when things started to take a turn, and it was time to kind of move on, or did he kind of just decide it was time for him to move on, or what?
Well, his illness, or whatever that, you know, the cause of his illness was, you know, I mean, they say congestive heart failure is what killed him. And we looked a little thin on the last tour that we were, you know, on, you know, but at this time, you know, during the time that he was passing, we were getting ready to go on an extensive tour. So, you know, we planned on going to New York. I mean, my calendar was full for the next 3 months. You know, at him being at 73 then, you know.
Wow. That kept him going.
Oh, yeah. You know, I mean, I think him staying at home is really what kind of hurt him, because he was, you know, maybe dipping and dabbing or whatever he was doing. I don't even talk about that. You know, but at his age, it may have caught up with him through years, you know what I mean? And it's just that time at home, he liked the road. He loved the road.
Right.
You know, he wanted that road. And so at this time, he was diagnosed with pneumonia. So I got a call earlier that morning saying, "Oh, we're going to be all right. We're going to the next gig." You know, he just cleaned himself up. And the next thing I know, it was like 1:45. I'm getting a call. He's gone. His son had called me.
Okay.
What do you mean he's gone? Because I'm thinking Mr. Brown had just got up and left out the hospital. He said, "No, he passed." I'm like, "Oh, man." I didn't believe it. You know, I'm still packing, believe it or not, because he's in the hospital. We know he's in the hospital. I got a call earlier stating that we're still going. We're not doing the first date, but we'll catch up on the next one. So I'm still packing. Next thing I know, I look on the TV, and then that's when it really, you know, I'm like, no. And then my phone rang for the next, I don't know how many months, you know, back to back to back to back, calls, you know, calling from everywhere, you know. So it was a trip, you know.
Well,
he passed,
I can tell you that we've been hearing from some folks on the chat that the music that is in the background, Payback, is like one of their all-time favorite hits. So folks are resonating with Payback and resonating with what you're saying about The Godfather. But, you know, one of the things, Mousy, that I think it kind of caught folks off guard, and you know, we got to kind of delve into this just a little bit. You know, later in James's career, particularly with the allegations of domestic violence and the drunk driving charges and so forth, What types of things do you think were going on that kind of drove him in that direction? Because in spite of it all, James was still loved by millions of people, and there were millions of people that were sending prayers up for him every day. But what do you think was kind of pushing James in that direction at that point in his life?
I don't know what was pushing him in that direction, but at the same time, he's no different than any other individual out here that may have been a successful lawyer, a successful police officer. That, only difference with him, he had a spotlight on him.
Sure.
And that's the only difference. So that's why I say his personal stuff, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people out here have something that's hidden. But he was just one that, his domestic abuse, the way he grew up. Remember now, he grew up in a whorehouse.
Sure. Well,
he danced in front of soldiers trying to make money. He had a 7th grade education.
Wow.
So he saw his mom and his dad go through what they went through. So
yeah.
It's a cycle. And we look today at our society. It's no change. Slavery has been embedded in us for the longest time. But to actually know somebody who had to pick cotton, steal to survive, but then become a big famous person, and then they go back into their own demons. Their own demons find them doing something else. I can't. But his music, I can't.
Oh yeah, his music is second to none. And I think, and you just look at all the people that have been influenced by him across all spectrums of culture and race. I don't care who you are. Everyone, even your staunch conservatives to your most liberal Democrat or independents has a favorite James Brown song.
Oh yeah.
I don't care who you are. There is a famous. Everyone has a favorite James Brown tune. Period. Which was one of the things I think that made it so hard for everyone because, and in particular, the picture they put of his arrest, when he was all disheveled and everything, I was like, wow, man, they're really reaching.
He was doing the drug, whatever drug he was doing drugs.
Yeah.
At the time, he's an entertainer. They love stories. Okay, here's the man. We'll get a bigger story out if it's James Brown more so than it's Joe Blow. Who's doing the same thing just down the street.
Right.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to cover it up to make a wrong into a right. It's just that the light was on him. Some people can't handle that light. And some people don't care about that light. But they know they're going to find a way to get out of whatever troubles that they were in. He was one of those kind of guys. So whatever trouble he was in, he got out of it. To the bitter end, all the way through his music, bringing him back up. He lost everything, got it back. Lost everything, got it back. He's been, an entrepreneur for years.
Sure.
So he knows the system. He had presidents calling him. I'm actually in his office one day. He gets a call. Step out, son. I happen to know who the president who had happened to call him. And I'm like, well, this is deep here. But I was like, okay. And it was just a conversation. It was just a conversation. And he told me he was giving him a call. And I'm like, yeah, right.
Who was the president?
Huh?
Who was the president?
Well, I don't know. It was Clinton.
Okay.
I can see that.
I would have guessed that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, he got a saxophone.
Absolutely. I can definitely see
call, just a regular call. I was like, wow.
And he used to, and Al Sharpton, was very, Al Sharpton was very close with him too.
Well, Al was like a son to him. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. So he always, had his foot in the door. He was in the movies. He was in Rocky.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Brown had his ear to the ground. You know what I mean? And to have his ear to the ground, he knew what was happening. not only here but across the water, everywhere.
Because he make things happen.
I mean, yeah, he would make things happen. He could make things happen that, quietly other people couldn't make happen. I'm going to places that I would never think I would go to in this world.